Also, I love catching you by surprise. Always, I just take the screen down. You're there. Welcome everybody in to New Standards on Friday. Today, joined obviously by Alt. Alt, how are you?
Doing good, buddy. How are you?
Oh, doing fantastic. And we are joined by a special guest today. Should we get him up on stage?
Yeah, of course. Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. Special guest here. Yeah, Lucian, managing director for the Foundation for the New Creative Economies. Lucian, how are you doing today?
Doing good. Thank you for the special hosting.
Thanks for coming to chat with us.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. First question I always have for alts here is, how's the pup doing?
She's ornery today. Ornery is a good word, but I gave her a bone. Now she's good.
All right. Excellent. Lucian, I haven't spoken to you all day. How's life going?
Pretty good. Back in Switzerland. Spent some days with the family in Italy now to enjoy from the fresh breeze in the mountains. It's good to cool a bit off. It's so hot in Zurich lately. Man. So
define hot.
By 34 Celsius. Is that in the 90s for Fahrenheit, I guess?
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty warm. I remember when I was in Berlin, everybody's like, "Oh my God, it's so hot," and it was like 80 degrees. I was like, "This is nice."
Yeah, it was so hot here for a few days. It was like I felt like my brain was melting and coming out of my skin. It was like 40 degrees Celsius, Lucian, for day over day. I'm not built for that at all. I am not built for that at all. All right, we have some community popping in. Rob saying hello. Hey, Rob, how are you?
Rob.
Roland Carter is here. Hopefully you're doing some art there. Good, sir. Jace says, why don't you swim in the Limat? I think that's what it's called.
Oh, I might do later. Yeah, sure. It's the river over here.
Hey, is it really a thing that I saw, I don't know where in Switzerland, but people actually commute by swimming down the river? Like they jump in the river and swim down?
I mean, there is, from what I know, there is a lot of floating going on because a lot of the rivers have quite a current. And there is a small town close to Zurich where annually they do like a big celebration and people float for a couple kilometers in that river. It's called Badenfahrt. Baden is the name of the town, and Fahrt just means to ride, to drive. So
we do a lot of that.
I could imagine if you have like strategically located office and you just jump in and you have the waterproof bag, so you could do that for sure.
Oh man, that would be amazing. Is the water cold? Is it like mountain glacial water? I've never been to Switzerland.
No, it actually warms up quite a bit. So the lake is like a swimming pool, I would say, in summer. The river is a bit fresher, but also not too cold. There's people that go all year actually to swim, also in winter. So then it's cold. Yeah, it's close to the freezing point, but never reaches. I never saw the lake frozen.
Gotcha.
A little bit here and there, but no, nothing.
Yeah, got it. I don't love cold water, honestly, but I'm coming around to it. Everyone's got these ice baths that they do. They do like the freeze your body and then steam it out on the other side, ice bath sauna thing. So, when I go into my pool right now, that's like 78 degrees Fahrenheit. I imagine I'm going into an ice bath, which is not even close.
So. That's cute. 78. Yeah, it's not really close.
I'm a baby. Roland says, you can swim from point to point, and said the kids do it in the summer. But Roland had a question for you. So here's the very first question that you can answer. It says, have you heard about the Swiss art business events?
A little bit, yeah. So a friend of mine has been speaking with them or trying to help them. If I remember correctly, because there's a few. This is the one with the certifications, right, for the art pieces. If I remember correctly. Let me quickly check. There's a couple of them, yeah, but yeah, Switzerland actually quite. Yes, yeah. yeah, Switzerland actually has quite a thriving art scene as well, right? Because you have a lot of foundations here and a lot of big companies that optimize their taxes by funding art.
Mm.
Right?
Mhm.
So Basel is also originally from Basel, Switzerland. So there is some, yeah. So yes.
Yeah, cool. Roland brought it up because he says he thinks it could be so well integrated with Luxo.
Mm-hmm. We have been chatting. We'll have to follow up with Jonathan what the latest is there, but we have been chatting with some of those, yeah, including a few events.
Yeah, super cool. It's nice to see people interacting in the chat. Again, if you're with us on X or you're on, I have this going out to YouTube, get into the comments and have a chat, share with us, and we'll get it up here on the screen, and maybe Lucian can answer it, and if he can't, then Alt and I will just guess in an answer.
I like that game.
And we'll have fun with that game. Okay. Yeah, Roland, thanks you very much there. So cool. Yeah. Oh, that's good. All right. So we have a few things lined up, Lucy. We can talk informally as much as you like or as little as you like. But we can also Common Ground started collecting just a couple questions that people could get in on the Curia board and, I guess put them on the agenda, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're interested, I'll throw one of these at you and, we can frame a discussion around it. How does that sound?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm down to, take all the questions that might pop up and they make sense by you guys to be, addressed.
Yeah.
So you guys are the filter, and I'm happy to answer as best as possible.
Sure. First question: what is your favorite? No, I was going to ask. I'll leave that one later. Okay, so this one here says this is from Shah, who's in our Telegram and very active community member. Says in the last AMA, you and Fabian mentioned full circle events, specifically highlighting the goal for creatives to generate tokens, distribute them, and use them for real world value. This example has been consistently used to illustrate Luxo's potential. Beyond this specific use case, what other use cases do you envision for the Luxo ecosystem? And then maybe what steps are you taking to kind of, I would say, foster that?
Okay. I mean, currently the focus is obviously now to get the first full circle use case, right? And we were doing these breakout sessions and this and these brainstorming sessions in Berlin. Somehow we ended up with the artists, right? Berlin is a very artsy city with big music community, a lot of artists, a lot of DJs in that realm. So obviously the first full circle use case was chosen to be that one of an artist. Now, obviously, we have been looking beyond that. First the artist, and obviously all the other parties that are part of creating a whole event. So including potentially the bookers, the event organizers, the clubs, all of these. So we were imagining how a full circle would look for them and what they need, these different personas need. Then obviously a second persona outside of the art realm that we looked into was this whole region topic, right? If I remember correctly, the Iftember motto was also the year of the regions, right? If I remember correctly. It's a cause that is very dear also to Fabian since a long time. And that's where all of the these incentive programs came up with, like that Fabian brings up, for example, with collecting the bottles on the beach, cleaning the beach, and then getting some form of token for that, which later can be used for something else. So kind of transactions or incentives that lead to actions that then lead to you receiving a transaction of something, which then can be swapped for something else. Think of it maybe like in a simpler form, like the airline miles redeem programs that they have, right? So a lot of these things, when you do certain things, you get some credits for different credits, and then these can be reused. So that's how I think the region persona has been approached. Then beyond that, I mean, we had an interesting conversation lately, as there was a friend trying to coin the term W3, wealth tree, right? So there is Web3, and now people started talking about wealth tree. So we're trying to think, and this is again very early and very informal, how could a democratized access to wealth or to wealth management look like? Because most of the models that we have seen in DeFi, and mostly also with different trading platforms, they have been still, kind of one-to-one the same from previously, when it comes to getting access to certain trading strategies or getting access to certain even alpha, right? So how can we? And there were ways also in TradFi that tried to approach this, right? Think of it like, I think there were some in Europe, like eToro. There is, I think, Robinhood was also pioneering some of these elements. What I'm talking about is like this, what they call social trading, right? Where somebody shares their conviction and a lot of people can ape in. And then this whole process could also be thought through as on a full circle moment, whereas the person that shares these ideas and puts the work in, the charts, the trading ideas, and then obviously he has an advantage because he executes first. But then if this community that follows a certain trader also have a certain incentive mechanism around the token, where the token could be the trader, right? In the old world, there is obviously what some successful traders do. They manage what they call SMAs, separately managed accounts, right? So if you're a certain affluent person, you go there and say like, hey, I give you $2 million and you manage this. So also that part with the same mechanism could be democratized to an extent. So suddenly it's not anymore the size that gives you the exclusivity access, but maybe it could be something else, like a token that incentivizes. But yeah, very early, wealth tree. Maybe it's gonna be something for the next 2 years. Another interesting topic, but still very early, is again in these DAOs around education, around science. I mean, also different groups of communities that have a common shared goal, where again, full circle moment could help put this to the next level. There's obviously some interesting projects that purely specialize in this, and I think for us it's mostly about building the primitives for these, and not decide to become the next molecule, let's say, right?
Yeah, what I'm hearing is, and I share this vision, is like the Luxo network can be so much more than just a hub for creators. Because when we say that, or sometimes I think when people hear that, they think, oh yeah, it's just a bunch of people with paintbrushes or DJs or whatever, and they want to be very limiting with what a creator is. But a creator is a very expansive term, and the fact of the matter is the use cases are extraordinarily expansive when you think of the fact that it's generalized block space, and it's really, what do people want to use it for? So in the case like you're mentioning there, in the Wealth 3, where you have very custom, let's say, asset management strategies that might be social in some way based upon a reputational system, which I know is a buzzword, but let's say some reputational format where you can follow trusted traders in a kind of transparent way like that. That's absolutely something that could come onto the Luxo network, and it could be something that's valuable here. Alts, you got thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I like that angle of it. Yeah, of course, you think about the creator economy, and it's like the tools themselves are the creative part, right? Because you can do pretty much anything you can imagine with that, and that's what's great about this network is we're trying to kind of like think about these pockets that it could exist, but it's like fast forward 5 years, we don't know what's going to get built here because it's so malleable, right? But talking about the creative side of it with the social side is like, yeah, it's like even these Web 2 like monetary ecosystems, like they all have social elements to them, right? And that's something that we haven't seen yet in Web3 is like you're just now kind of slowly getting that with Base and some other, platforms starting to do some sort of little piecemealed version of a profile or a name or a handle or these things, right? But like when it's profile centric, it's like you can just start stacking all this stuff on top of it. But even
Yeah,
like with the investing side of it, that's really interesting to me too, because it's just like that's one of the major problems with Web3 is it's just it's so extractive, right? It's you have this cabal of like an inner circle, and then they build and they just kind of like extrapolate out, and it's kind of like a pyramid scheme, and they just like they're just looking to jump from one project to another to just extract. But if you can have something built around like a reputation that you can actually foster naturally and build that, authentically and reward your followers, and if they had like a token that was like a fan token that, that had other utility besides just extraction, right? You can make
yeah,
money, sure, but you're also building something that's more sustainable. Like one thing that's going on right now is the World Series of Poker. I don't know if you guys follow that at all, but
I
there's kind
do.
of this
I used to play a
ecosystem.
lot.
Oh, you did? Okay, yeah, awesome, awesome. I think we talked about that a little bit once.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's like they have this little ecosystem too of which would be such a great example of doing this in Web3, where you kind of like you pick players and you can bet on their performance for the summer, or in the main event, or just various things. But it's like a whole ecosystem that's abstract of the player themselves, and it doesn't affect their performance, right? Which is ideally what you'd want too if it's something like trading, right? You don't want their performance being relied upon finding other people to just dump to, right? You
it's
want
actually also a great way to crowdfund certain great players an entry ticket to some of
right.
these very high stakes tournaments as well, right? And I mean that thought can be spinned. I mean, it's not for poker, but you can also think the same way. If you're a very talented artist, and obviously launching your album with an indie label takes a lot of costs in the beginning,
Yeah.
because maybe you don't have a studio, so you need to get instruments. Maybe you need to somebody help you with distribution, all of that stuff. So what it does is it provides you with a easy way to potentially have all of these flywheels, all these crowdfunding possibilities suddenly. And I think what differentiates us with, as you just mentioned, with Base and the others, is that we put identities first, and the EVM chains they still with ERC20, so the underlying asset first, right? It's a different approach. So I think that is kind of our positioning is unique. And again, why we started with artists is first of all, we had to start somewhere, and we had to start with one use case specifically, because the more scope we put, the more difficult it is to get anything right. So the first use case was chosen based on obviously this breakout session, based on the expertise that our team has as well, and obviously also based on potential partners that we could draw into this first couple, experiments. Doesn't mean that everything else is excluded, but if you do it properly with one persona, there is so many commonalities that you can copy paste it for the next one already, because ultimately you're building for creators, and even the trader is a creator because he creates a trade idea, right? So it can be replicated. There's so many commonalities that it becomes increasingly more simple to then specifically target the next persona, and so on as we grow, right? Because this obviously, takes time, and it takes also the right people. Ideally, in the future, we have eventually one partnership manager for every persona, so they're very specialized. We have all of these different blocks. But yeah, for that, first we needed the base layer, right? The standards, and all of that infrastructure that had to be done, which even now is not fully completed, right? The bridges is coming now. I still think discoverability is a very important one. So finally people can see what is going on. So yeah, we're very close of reaching that point. And I mean, somehow we're kind of aligning with the market that is kind of now turning slowly, and maybe the altcoin season is gonna come in a few weeks, or in a few months at least. So I expect month, 2 months, and then the whole market. I mean, Ethereum is already breaking out now, so the rest is going to follow eventually, right? So
yeah, I mean, that's the hope. I mean, that's what everyone's hoping, right? Is that it's not just Bitcoin and Ethereum and it runs away from everyone else. I think I sit with a lot of people in this. By a lot of people, I mean my brain and the multiple voices up there. No, I mean, there's a real question. Is blockchain actually going to move from being purely financial, which obviously I think a distributed ledger technology is financial kind of at its core, right? Like it wants to track things. Maybe it's not. I don't know. It feels me like that is the primary use case that it's hit, and everybody understands it. Cryptocurrency being kind of this financial instrument. But will blockchain actually jump out and touch the normal person's everyday life beyond the stablecoin? Like, will the stablecoin not just be something that is like bank driven, or will people actually use blockchain stablecoins? I don't know. In their everyday life, to buy the tickets, to redeem the tickets, to buy the experiences that are actually some way certified by the technology itself. I think I might be, I don't know if that's a clear thought. I have doubts. I don't know, Lucian, like honestly, I have doubts about blockchain in general after seeing companies like Nike just disappear, right? And take all the goodwill with them, and others who have done the same. I think a lot of people, it sowed this seed of doubt in their mind. Like, is this actually going to be lasting, or are we fooling ourselves? I mean, where do you weigh in on that? I mean, that's an interesting question to ask the managing director for a blockchain foundation, but it's an important one, because I think a lot of people are afraid, scared, have doubts, like, where do you sit?
I think the top line is that the web will have to evolve. In the next one, I mean, I'm a big fan of that book by Chris Dixon, I believe, and he also says that there is the Web 1, the Web 2, and the Web 3. So I believe that there's going to be a Web 3, and that's what we're all building for, right? Now, as long as transacting the old way with the current banking system is cheaper and faster, the stablecoin transactions are always going to be a little gimmick on the side. But once it makes sense economically for either the banks or the large corporates that move the most from A to B to do it differently, then yeah, I think it's going to shift. But is that shift going to be open and accessible for everybody, or is it just going to be a settlement system between certain corporations or between certain banks, with still having the gimmick of sending money from A to B as a user to user as well, peer to peer, right? So that, I mean, we will see. At the end of the day, I think it depends how fast can you execute and how cheap can you execute. It's purely for moving money purposes. But I mean, there are so many use cases beyond just the stablecoin use case, which, but I mean, for sure, stablecoins have been the largest, right? So, and this is to be seen, right? So I believe there is a need for a lot of things that are being built, and it's getting closer and closer. I mean, there is more and more big integrations happening. So what I think from our side, I mean, the use case that we have been looking into, some of the grantees we have been seeing building, they make perfectly sense. Just that in this curve of adoption and change, we were early, and maybe some things were a bit too early. And also what you mentioned before with Nike, maybe they just wanted to experiment really early on to have it done, and then come back, revisit later when the market and the technology as such has matured to a certain extent. And until then, we are still pioneering, I guess, and who knows how it will look like 1, 2, 3 years from now. Yeah, it's a long time in crypto.
Yeah, I think you're highlighting, you're doing a good job of widening the discussion while at the same time helping to clarify it. That's just it. All the fears I have around will blockchain make it as a technology are probably unfounded. It's really just this point in the adoption curve where so much attention and energy is put towards, I don't know, like look at Hyperliquid, tons of trading with their perpetuals. There's a lot of liquidity that has migrated there, but like have they pushed the needle? Has that chain, and we don't need to discuss it, but like, is that chain or others really innovating in a way that's bringing blockchain to the normal person, my mom, right? My daughter, and you're shaking your head no, and I agree, because they don't care. They don't know anything about this stuff. And I do look at what we're doing here with Luxo, and I think, yes, I can see now the pathway for how my daughter engages with this blockchain, with this ecosystem, and where her and her friends could actually build value around the work that they do, the art that they share, the social content that they post, really the social capital that's built in their friend groups. It's now like we just have to cross that last hurdle, build that last connective tissue, and then I think that we can open the doors. And sometimes being early is painful, right? But that's always in the back of my mind. This like fear, is blockchain going to make it? I don't know.
I mean, Web 1 was supposed to be a decentralized network, right? It was born out of this premise of people operating a network, and many people doing that. Web 2 then was kind of centralizing a little bit the powers, right? With all of the rise of the big social media companies and many big players, it was kind of centralizing that. And Web 3 ideally should go back to the vision of Web 1, which is more power to the masses than a few large corporations.
I think it's always kind of like a pendulum, and I think you're right, Lucian. I think it will swing back. Like Web3 should swing it back more to decentralized. Because even like the big brands that came in and dabbled early on in the excitement, like they did the same thing with the internet back in the day. For those of us that are old enough to have seen the evolution of that, right? So that's nothing new. Like they'll be back. And I think like, I mean, the average person is just not here, right? Like Bitcoin's making new all-time highs, and the average person doesn't care at all, right? Even like Google Trends, like if you look like Google search and like the mentions of Bitcoin, it's like we're like all-time lows.
If the innovation is having a strategic Bitcoin reserve, I mean, it's a nice start, but it's not going to bring us forward as an industry, right? I mean, it's the same with as you were saying, Craig. Like, would your parents interact with it, right? I mean, I had some when I visited my parents, I had some relatives visit, and they were asking me as well and how to participate. And I was like, the best for you is here is an ETP that is a market neutral Bitcoin strategy. This is enough exposure for you. Are they touching the Bitcoin? No, they don't even own it. They just track the performance. But that's kind of the closest they will ever get to, probably.
Yeah, because it's terrifying. It makes my palms sweat whenever I have to move tokens around, right? And it's been that way for a long time. And we want better solutions, but we also want to be able to use this stuff without having to go through like this deep explainer for like how to use it. I mean, so in this case here, we have Universal Profiles, which is a browser extension, and we have Universal Profiles, which is a mobile application. And then we have applications that use those portals to talk to the blockchain effectively. And I want people to not get stuck on having to download a browser extension and not even get to the applications themselves. I want people to be able to use the applications and not have the friction of the seed phrase, of the security, of the fear, of the just extra step that doesn't make sense to them get in the way of what is then possible with the applications that sit beneath it, which actually can make their lives better. In the case of that first persona of the, let's say like an event organizer and the artist and a ticketing system where now you're verifying a ticket and you get this full circle moment. Like, if at any point there's friction, that breaks down. And like, I want to eliminate that. I want to be able to get my daughter say, hey, Ivy, just use this forever moments, because like there's a currency that's traded inside called likes. And if people like what you do, like, that it's actually, you kind of own the attention that comes to you or whatever. I don't even know if that's a great description for it, but like, I want to be able to onboard her and her friends without having any friction in the way. And that's completely different, Lucian, than even what you're saying, which is here, just touch a fund so you can track the investment. Like we're down to the user. My daughter doesn't even know what an investment is. Well, she does, but like she's not making investments at her age, right? She's just she's investing maybe in a different way. She's investing her time, right? And like, that's cool.
I think like the average person, most people, most of their time online is spent via social media, whether they're creating content or consuming it or sharing it. Like that's where most people are doing. And I think back, I'm thinking like the internet. How did people actually evolve to start using the internet? It's like it was really they were forced to, because at some point you're just gonna get left behind if you don't adapt, right? And I think at some point crypto will be that as well, and I think it will end up being more of a merging strategy as a replacement strategy. To kind of blend Web 2 into Web 3, we'll just kind of absorb it. But and maybe it has to get more dystopian first, and to some degree, like for these social media users, right? Like if you see a bigger swath of them that are getting censored or deleted, or just having issues with centralization in general, like because the average person still doesn't quite understand the difference. They get super upset or angry when they do get censored or blocked or banned or deleted or whatever. But like they don't quite understand how it all works, and that there is some sort of solution. So at some point some of these things will start to push people more into more into Web3, I think, as it becomes easier and easier to actually onboard them. And I think too, like a big reason why a lot of people at some point, because AI will force them into it as well, because like it's going to create so many, like I think about this social network that people use across the globe, and how AI is going to disrupt that tremendously, and there's so many ways that blockchain will help with that. It can't help with everything, but a lot of it I think will, that'll be a bastion for a lot of people wanting to find some authenticity that you can't find in Web 2. Dead internet theory is literally like underway right now.
As you're talking, Florian, one of the founders of Common Ground, he said before, it's like the internet was weird in Web 1, right? You had GeoCities, you had people creating places that you could stumble upon that were like expressions of their personality or their interests. And then Web 2 sanitized it. You had like these giant conglomerates, which basically kicked all of that weirdness off the internet and like really kind of narrowed the scope of expression. And the only place where people might have got weird is early social media. And even that has been narrowed, right? Due to attention cycles. It's really been occurring to me lately, and talking to Mustafa and I have had a couple conversations over the last couple of days. Like, man, the amazing opportunity here is in a proper Web3 with the proper decentralized foundations, you can get a return back to that weird internet that was Web 1, where you have a lot of individualistic expression, because LLM based coding or LLM assisted coding and development is really creating opportunities for people to get involved, rapidly prototype, and create their ideas that then hook into this distributed ledger, this blockchain, as this source of truth. And there's tons and tons and tons of opportunity there. And that's what I'm seeing more than ever now. Like Florian's words are just like burned in my head. I think we're going to see like a huge variety of things. I don't know if that resonates with you guys.
Yeah,
for sure. All right. We got a couple questions here, Lucian, that I want to make sure I get to. So this is a question from Heffy Jeffy. I'm going to ask it, and like this might be a little out of the scope of, if it's out of the scope of what you can answer, I think we'll all respect it. But Heffy Jeffy's a longtime community member. He's asked many questions in the past, so I want to at least respect that we'll ask it. He says, like, what are the goals and efforts to create yield for the foundation, perhaps with our tokens, so we're not relying on the market just being bullish for our survival? Is there anything that you could share?
I mean, yield with our token inherently has obviously a component, right? Because if the token price drops, then your yield income drops too. converted to stablecoin. So far, the foundation has been, this is obviously something that was addressed in a Medium article previously, proud of not staking funds. Now with more and more solutions becoming available, we are considering also delegating some funds and having them staked. Other than that, other ways to generate yield, obviously in a treasury management system, you can just buy into money market instruments, some of the Swiss franc reserves we have, some of the US dollar reserves we have. So there is ways which we have been looking into, but again, for this to, let's say, in a idealistic utopic state, a foundation will be living off the yield income, right? This is like what the textbook, in a very traditional framework, teaches you, that the foundation has an infinite time horizon, so supposed to be eternal, living off the yield income, and the yield income then decides what budget you have, right, and how much of that is being distributed. Now, obviously, in a crypto project, it's slightly different, because this would have assumed that when the foundation, or when the mainnet was launched, or when the foundation was incorporated latest, that a significant amount of those tokens would have been sold OTC to one or few parties, which also ideologically speaking was never back then considered in 2023, early 2023 or late 2022. So this massive big OTC sale did not happen with having a big VC on the at the table, which then obviously also has a lot of arguments to pressure you, right, to do things that they want, which is a little bit against of being decentralized and all of that. So yeah, I think ways how to generate yield, we know. I mean, this is quite classic treasury management. Also could have been, there is obviously also other strategies which in a Web3 sense work quite well, right? Market neutral with ETH, for example. Get the ETH, short the future against it, get the funding rate basically on the future as income. Yeah, there's ways.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure I answer that.
I mean, obviously, if we suddenly turn into hopefully, and eventually into a very big project, and we have this right timing that we can say, okay, here is 100,000 leaks or 500,000 leaks, and this is worth, I don't know, 150 million. Then yes, you could do the math and say, okay, it's not too much in relative terms. So the guy that buys this is not really, taking over too much power. At the same time, it gives us a significant amount of money, which from 150 million, you can then do the math, and suddenly you have a good yield income, which covers a lot of the expenses.
Sure. Thanks for answering. Again, wanted to make sure we ask it because Jeffy's been around a while.
There is no stupid question, right? It's just stupid answers.
And stupid people like myself. No. We had another question here. This one's from Luxo Intern. And because it was shared, the open ticketing around, the team there wrote a very powerful letter around the kind of their philosophy, ethos, and where it got them now. And I think there was a little bit of excitement because we know that in the Luxo ecosystem, we're looking for ticketing, right? Like that's part of our full circle moment. Yeah. The Luxo Intern is asking, did you get a chance to speak to OPN, the ticketing?
Yeah, I mean, it looks to be a nice project. And yeah, we have been chatting on Telegram, and John has been in a conversation with them. Fabian and I have been chatting with them. We have a Telegram group. I think it was very painful also to read that open letter that the founder wrote, because did everything right in his worldview and still got smacked quite hard, especially when they affiliated with that other blockchain. And it's a real project with real tickets being sold. Yeah, it's very tough. I mean, in that letter, I think as well they put ticket price, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's short of 1 million. I think it's 750 if I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's a tough one for sure to read about, but I really admire what they've done and what they've built. And yeah, we have been chatting, and we still are chatting just to see if there is any ways that, you know, down the road we could collaborate. Obviously, an acquisition is difficult, especially, you know, buying the company for what they ask for, and then also having all of their costs on top of that, right? They have a great team of developers. They have an IP. They have a lot of things. Yeah, so we're chatting with them, and that's all I can say. I mean, we're not really looking to buy them one by one, like giving them $1 million, but we're trying to find a way, just, you know, see if something is possible down the road. Yeah, but there's a lot of lessons there in that ladder for sure, right? There's a lot of lessons that one can learn there, for sure, about awareness, about the crypto game and so on. A lot of things which we have been learning also in the last 1.5 years, which probably before were less prioritized, but which regardless are part of how this game is being played, right?
Yeah. It's kind of that painful reality that right now it's such a limited circle, limited scope for what gains the attention of for crypto blockchain. I don't know the correct word though, that if you're not playing that heavily hype, that you're not playing into these hype cycles, there's not enough attention to sustain. And like that's been painful for everybody. I mean, this goes for hundreds, and I don't even know how many projects, but like it's so many of those projects that are offering real utility, that have real applications, that have real I might say utility again, for the everyday person. And like, those are the projects that have to persist and build through this. That's the winter. The winter is a utility winter. The winter is not a hype winter. I mean, you could buy fart coin and be a millionaire multiple times over and you got nothing. But if you really saw a vision and you stuck with it as a founder, even in the case of Open, and you built a product with real users and a fit, you can be struggling. And that is what's maddening about what has transpired for the past couple of years. I think the most maddening thing, for sure, from my perspective. Lucian says, Ari says, Lucian, let's build a native solution about live events. And I know that that's something that would be high on your priority list, like a decentralized Luma. But I think we already have, we have like crypto nomads apart, at least people who.
Yeah, we had this conversation as well. I mean, crypto nomads is a great one. And if she were to fully embrace our technology, then could be the one as well, with some modifications. But yeah, I agree. We should have one, and we will have to have one. Also speaking with event organizers in Berlin, and I mean, also were there in that interview as well. My friend who is organizing every other week an event in Berlin was saying, like, yeah, I'm using now Luma for 2 years. Before it was this, afterwards it's going to be this and that. And but the thing is, like, I'm losing every time my history of events, like me as an organizer, right? So every time I need to do a new profile to do the events that links to something else. But my whole track record is split among different platforms, and I don't know anything, right? It's all with the platforms. So
yeah, that kind of really hit home with me when he was talking about that, because it was the same thing I was discussing earlier, where you're talking about, like, okay, you can build on, say, a YouTube or a TikTok or a Facebook or wherever your home is. You can build for 5 years, put out all this content, get 1 million followers, and then just like that, it's just gone, right? But it's the same for every industry. All these other platforms and apps that people are using, when they're centralized, right, you're just kind of at the whims of the future of that platform, right? You can be deplatformed. Not even like the company itself could just decide to close up shop and everything's gone, right? Yeah.
I mean, the next is, and I think this has been around for a while as well, is with the collectibles in the big games, right? because also there people put a lot of money in there to buy certain skins, really thousands and thousands of dollars, and then one day the game shuts down and all of these like 20,000 hours that they put into the game and all of the collectibles that they collected, all of the achievements, all gone, worthless. All that is left is a screenshot, maybe.
Brutal,
it is crazy because it's not just about the money you put; it's the time, which is even more precious than right.
Yeah, for sure.
This is like kind of what for me Web3 should solve. Is again going back to what Web1 was aiming for, right? People that operate the internet together, and people that own. Not these pillars that of social media platforms that own everything and they decide what is and they decide what is right and what is not right. You get deleted if you don't comply.
Yeah. Switching gears just a little bit here. I know Musta is on the voyage right now. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on Musta and their kind of angle of tokenizing time and then using that time. I'm going to way oversimplify this, but tokenizing time and then using that tokenized time as kind of like a currency in their platform to pay for experience. So like right now they're on a boat and they're fractionalized the ownership of this boat, which is really, or could, that's the idea behind Musta, which is really cool. But in the kind of position that Tom has given to me, and it's in his Substack, it's like, through this tokenized time model, it's like you could, this could be tradable with real business partnerships with, a restaurant in the town that you're going to visit, that you're going to dock in, or a club, or it's endless possibilities. What are your thoughts around that?
I mean, it's a great use case because RWA has been quite a buzzword, right? So it's good to have a use case also on Luxo that focuses on that. And then obviously the dime is the dividend of the frictional ownership as an example. Great. It's a great way. It's a great way to basically find the utility, right, of your investment in a way. It's a practical utility because you're allowed to access the boat.
Florian said it's like, one of the original use cases that came up with, people are thinking about like a decentralized Airbnb. I think it was called Slockit back in the day. But like, this is, we're approaching that again, but on better foundations where the real world asset can have a decentralized identity of its own. And that's something that I think is unique and we don't pay enough attention to as a general.
It all depends again on the foundations, right? On the standards that power all of these use cases.
Absolutely.
In the long term, it's going to be the one succeeding. It's the one with the right standards, because a lot of these use cases, they're going to otherwise not work out at that scale. Absolutely. And I think it's a great example as well that the Airbnb, decentralized Airbnb model that was proposed. It's a great one as well, right? Because how often do you get to? I mean, they have obviously the hosts have profiles there and reputation as well. But at the end of the day, how often do you get there and it's not what you booked for, and at the end of the day, there is no consequences, right? No real consequences. Maybe Airbnb sends you back something, or they threaten the host, but that's it.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, so think about this. Think about all the different apps and platforms and websites and things that you use, the average person uses on a daily basis, whether it's like Airbnb or social media or Uber, literally whatever, all of them. Like just the concept of just being able to aggregate all of that activity to where it moves the needle and gives you value, right, on a daily basis. All your activity just gives you value because you're building reputation and identity around it, right? Like that's just like.
And that goes both ways, right? It's the driver on one side, but on the other side also the user. You can also get incentivization to write the honest reviews, because how often do you just click 5-star and thank you very much and that's it? But if you get incentivized to do more than that, you can build a better track record.
Different paradigm. You can incentivize transparency, right? Like Web 2 does not do that.
Yeah, exactly. This is what it is for me. The Web3 is again this bringing finance really into the web, really like peer to peer, and not just more in the monetary sense, but just, time is also nested, right?
Mm.
So it gets incentivized in one form or another. If you get a token back for it, or you get access to something else, it doesn't need to be always getting straight up money back for it, or a network token or something. It can be whatever makes sense.
Absolutely. I think the foundations that are here enable so many composable use cases that, again, might even exist outside of a token structure, right? Like there's so much that can be done here, because we have access to this kind of really robust metadata storage system that comes with the ERC 725. We touch it every time we load into a platform, and we have our universal profile data available to us, your profile name, your image, your links, your tags, your description. We know we've demonstrated the use case. Anyone can go and plug into that and get it as a developer and represent it in your own unique way. You can choose how you want to display it on the screen. What we don't talk enough about is like that same storage system is also how we're storing custom data for our tokens, right? That's how you're getting your token image. That's how you're getting the token icon. That's how you're getting the description, right? There's other things you can put there, but we're not limited there either. There's other custom data keys that can be assigned. At first, they're custom because you might be a one-off, but you can also standardize other data keys and make those available so that applications can go and reference that data and then bring it in. Those data keys could be storing, again, these might not even be good ideas, but they could be storing the number of bedrooms that you have in your Airbnb house, right? So your house has a profile, and part of the metadata is literally numbers of bedrooms, right? Or numbers of bathrooms. You might probably do a more generalized data key, which would be just like accommodations, and inside of it, just like we have LSP3, maybe it's LSP44, and you've got bedrooms, bathrooms, garage, hot tub, whatever. And now if you're plugging in this decentralized Airbnb model, like you could have 50 Airbnbs, because every real world asset has this, that is a home, is now standardized with how they plug the information in. And then there can be great competition for how to basically surface the best locations. And then all of the let's say reviews. Again, we can build interesting systems for how it's reviewed, and like, if it's a positive review and people agree, right, we can use oracles to say, yes, you're a good actor, you didn't lie, or no, you're a liar and you're punished. Like, all of these systems exist. It's about composing them together. And just to make this like really obvious, at dinner in ETH Denver, I remember sitting at this long table, and I was like, I really would love it if there was an application that was kind of like the old MySpace, where there was your top 8 friends. And I remember you, Lucian, saying, just go build it. And I went with Kriegel and talked about it, and we came up with some designs, and I started building it, but then got really busy because I ran into a bug and was like, oh God, I just got to walk away from this. But I just actually finished it, like, and released it. And I bring this up because, you can go clone this right now from my profile. Thank you, Kriegel, for the design here. And what's really interesting is, like, you're seeing the LSP3 metadata represented here in the profile card. You have the banner, you have the avatar, you've got the profile name, description, tags, links. Yeah, we've seen all this before. There's nothing really new, but I want to nail down on the point I'm making. These 6 accounts are now stored as a piece of metadata, right, about my Ethelorian account. So anybody, if they knew the data key, could go and represent my top 6 in any platform. So Profile Jump right now, which is aggregating all this data, people have used Profile Jump. Profile Jump could just implement the top 6 data key, and then you'd also see the top 6 friends that I have added to my profile. And last night I was playing around with this indexer. It's not on there yet, but it'll be a little button right here which will show you what accounts have been added to the most profiles. Like, how many instances of this application are there? What's the hottest trending account? And this top 6 can be super generalized. This was Kriegel's idea. This could be your top 6 tokens. And now instead of on this profile panel representing LSP3, I could just represent the LSP4 metadata. And this could be representing the token icon, the name of the LSP7 token, and then all the information about it here. And if you updated the metadata, it would update right here. We could do numbers of holders. Like, there's all kinds of crazy shit we could do. And all of this is available for a developer for you to play with. None of it requires you to write a smart contract, right? So there's really interesting stuff going on here, and that's why I brought it up. And it's kind of cool, right? So you can add and subtract and do everything you want to do. You could right now you can remove alts if you wanted to. And, you know, the indexer is in here. So, you know, we could add anyone that we wanted. You know, if we wanted to add Findura, you know, you could just add Fabian in, and now you would have Fabian as part of your top 6. So I bring this up again, just mentioning it because of this idea. Like, it doesn't just have to be tokens, right? With the right foundations, with ERC725Y, we have this opportunity now to store and reference, right? The metadata is a reference to data that we're tracking about the actual people. This is what makes it, or the people, or the things, or the real world assets that we want to know more about and use in a socially composable way in our Luxo ecosystem. So yeah, I brought that up because I feel like, you know, there's so much we miss because we're not even seeing what's possible. We're so in our minds structured around this idea that it's the token, it's the token, it's the token. And really, it's so much more than the token, you know? Here, I'm just going to discard this change, leave you there, alts. Oh. And Mustafa and I will talk about this on July 18th, but like what we're talking, like some of this stuff was literally aided by, most of it was aided by LLM development. It allowed me to go super, super fast. So even this little tip creator at the bottom, I just wanted to see, could I one-shot it? Could I prompt it with the right foundation and the LLM actually implement that in one shot? And it did, right? Like one prompt, boom, threw it on the screen. So there's a lot you can do here. And I think if we grow the base of our community, we can find a lot of experimentation, a lot of interesting little composable Legos that we can use to snap together. All right.
I'm picturing like a iPhone widget, like where you take folders and put them inside folders. So it's like, I need one that says like my top sixes, and then I can put like my friends, my tokens, my NFTs. Like
yeah. So yeah, it's cool. So this is idea come full circle, right? From the shared dinner table at ETH Denver to now. But I brought this up because in the real world asset scenario, we don't just have to tokenize the asset and that's the end of its utility. The asset actually gains a life when you start having information about it, right? And that's
what starts there after the tokenization.
Yeah.
It's the same with the music when you say like it ends when I produce the track, but it's only where it starts. Right?
Yeah.
The distribution, it's everything that follows after its creation.
Absolutely. So now you think of it like, did you see the radar presentation when you were in Berlin, Lucian?
When was it? Which day?
I think it was day 2.
Infrastructure day 2. Yeah.
I wasn't in Berlin, unfortunately, yet.
Okay, so I put radar up here. So reactive acid-driven audio receiver, and I'm pretty sure, again, what Vector has done here is stored as metadata, like all of these presets for this visualization based upon his setup in front of him as a DJ. And so all he has to do is when he logs in with his universal profile in this digital sense, everything that he wants, that all of his presets immediately become available to him. And he did this visualization thing. I'm sure Vector could explain it much better than I could. But again, that's another example of this really incredible idea that we can be using these decentralized identities for so much more than just the tokenization itself. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So
I've seen it on the screen though. It was in the community floor displayed on the TV for the whole week. I think it was like playing. There was a track playing, and it was all of the art was moving and adapting according to the. That was radar, I think. No.
yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm just gonna see if I can't.
Yeah, it like he had set up basically it live feed adapts to network activity. So like Fabian pulled out his phone and went and followed him, and then it turned green for the follow. Like,
yeah,
it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Just again, another really cool example of how our foundations are just a little bit different, but so much more expressive. So not a question at all. I'm just telling you how cool I think it is.
I concur.
All right. Let me see if there's any other questions out there, Lucian, because I know you're a busy person and I don't want to steal too much of your time on this Friday afternoon. So let me look. Setting. Oh, here's one right here. Let's see. There's a concern that we're going to miss altcoin season. Do we have things cooking, Lucian, in the next, let's say in the next 2 months to ensure that we're not going to miss altcoin season?
We sure have. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3. I think there is 3 good and proper announcements coming in the next 4 to 6 weeks. So I think so. Yeah, I think we have everything lined up. It's just about executing the roadmap, making sure that the announcements they get the visibility they deserve.
Yeah. The announcements get the visibility that they deserve. I appreciate that. Because
they're great announcements, right? A lot of them are great, but many people don't know about it. Right? I mean, we'll see. Again, Bridge, everybody knows it's coming. Crypto.com, I mean, that was already spoilered by Fabian in the last day of May, and then obviously it's no secret anymore. Then, I mean, the whole staking that will come afterwards is also going to be great. There's some good interest out there for this solution, so it's going to draw more capital into the ecosystem. And then from there, I guess there is the token generator, which is very exciting as well. And I would say these are like the closest things that are coming up, but there's so much more. And I think Fabian summarized it quite well in his tweet. And that is also not complete. There is more than that.
Perfect. I think that's what people want to know. Is there stuff that they are not aware of that is still coming? And you just said yes, if I'm reading between the lines, which is good. Perfect. All right. I don't know how much time you have with us, Lucian, but we've been going for an hour and 10 minutes. Alt, do you have anything here at the end?
No. Always nice to chat with you. It's good seeing you in Berlin, even for a little bit. Looking forward to the next time. But yeah, you're talking about Switzerland a lot. I mean, I'm thinking about moving to Switzerland. Like, I don't know a lot about it, but their flag, to me, it's a big plus.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Terrible.
I did have one question, Lucian, though, before you go. So why does Switzerland not make good cars?
Good cars?
Why don't they make good cars?
Good cars. I mean, that's a good question, actually.
I got the answer.
Good cars. I mean, they have good infrastructure.
Well, they do, but for the cars, the problem is you can only put them in neutral. I was scraping the bottom of the barrel for
these are terrible jokes. Terrible.
I mean, an idea about Switzerland is almost no natural resources, but then again, there's countries which have produced good cars with some natural resources. Without,
for sure.
But I will be visiting Switzerland one of these days, though. It's on my bucket list.
Mason says they make great watches, though, and banks, and chocolate,
and knives, and army knives.
And army knives,
and multi-purpose knives.
Yeah.
And cheese.
And cheese. It just has holes in it. You never get the full block. All right, cool. I think that takes us here to the end, Lucian. Again, I know it's Friday night your time, so it's time to do something else. I guess the lasting, the last word I want to get in is like, I want to make mention of the fact that I don't think people realize that you're actually a performing artist too. And I think that that's like a really important thing to mention. I mean, they might know that you're a DJ, but I don't think I mean, you don't have to give it away right now, but like, you actually are been on a lot of stages and been to a lot of places. If anyone knows what this culture needs, it's probably you, right? Because you're right in the thick of it. So I wanted to make mention of that. So it's not even a question, it's like a statement. I just want to make mention of that. And then if you want to say anything, you can. If you don't want to give it away, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, for me, when I first met Fabian, I think it basically, the way it clicked was like, sure, I had my journey. Before being the artist, I pursued a normal, I mean, also on the side, obviously did my career, right? So the thing with the artist is a passion project of mine. So it is not paying the bills, but it's helping to furnish a nice music studio to generate and create nice music. But yeah, I mean, I've come to this industry like many others before with the ICO hype, 16, 17, and then, music was always a different animal until people started doing use cases in that direction. And then, some friends reached out like, hey, you're into music, but you're also into crypto. What do you think about this pitch deck here? And I was like, look at it, and I was like, interesting. But only when I met Fabian, then we had this conversation. I was like, yeah, this is actually, it makes so much sense the way that things are being looked at and look so. And yeah, I think we are, if we continue focusing on the use cases the right way, I think we are set up for success, because at the end of the day, people only shift to something new if it makes sense and if it's easy to use and it solves the problem or improves on something they were using before, right? So as long as it takes us 10 minutes to get onboarded and a lot of different things, you do already lose 90% of the people on the process. And then obviously the things need to work as well. So a lot of the solutions that I've seen, they didn't function properly or they broke, especially in other chains. So I think we're on the right track. And what was my key takeaway, because even fewer know that because the artists, some know now, but I also wrote a light paper a couple years ago in 21 that a big chain actually, where we used to DJ at some of the nicest events back in the previous cycle. They asked us to write something up, me and my partners, DJ partners. And so basically we came up with an incentive system which is made for artists and communities, which kind of now on the generic level has been built at Luxo, and kind of now looks like now kind of, it can be fully thought through with these different use cases. The way it was envisioned, independently, myself, Fabian, and some others, Marjorie, many years ago. And now things are coming together. And Kat has also some great ideas for especially the region side of things, right? So she independently has brought that part through. So we're actually very blessed to have a lot of people which had similar ideas and now all came together. Also, Jan is also an artist. Not many people know this. I mean, people know he worked with Coinbase, but he's actually a true Berliner. He has been DJing for probably also 20 years at least. And so it's a lot of like, Annalise, the same, right? So we have a lot of very talented people that not just excel in one specific field, but also, different art forms. And I think that's what makes us unique. And I think it reflects well when we talk about the personas and what are the requirements and how should the user journey look like for the artist or the creator, and then also the consumer, the fan, both sides. That's a bit what many got wrong in the last 6.5, 7 years since I started seeing a lot of these music or creative industry focused use cases. They always just replicated the ICO model and said, okay, the artist has a brand value and he just tokenizes that and then dumps it on people, and then, but it's again only the half circle.
Yeah.
And you need the proper full circle, which is not a patchwork. It needs to be a natural flow. Otherwise, you're not going to do it. If you then have to connect to YouTube and this and that, and then, it's a mess. It has to be good flow.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing here, and I think I'm going to overlay it with my own thoughts. It's that like, it's not people who are disconnected trying to invent a solution for a community that they're not a part of. Instead, it's a group of individuals, right, that have very deep roots in that specific community and understand what is needed in order for adoption there. And like that's why one, it makes sense to target that use case, but also two, it makes the solution that much more powerful because it's authentic, right? It's something that you can see being used there. And I think that's important for the community to understand, because they see maybe the great video alts put out and they see the decks and people on there, and I know comments are like, get off the decks and go to work, but they don't understand that that's really part of the culture and the life and the interest. And this fits right in with the targeted use case for a whole community that can be onboarded. So
yeah, we had, especially at the Resonate event, we had I think it was around 20 participants, and they were all either artists that are already familiar with Web3 or artists that have no idea about Web3. End of the day, it was obviously after the panel and all of the interviews that we did, it was open deck, so everybody was jamming a bit, and that's also what makes us unique. So we can organize very efficiently a nice event in our space, so we don't have to rent actually anything because we already have the office space there, and we already have a lineup, right? So this is like a very cost-effective way of inviting people, build community, and create content as well.
For sure. All right, cool. Okay, I think we're gonna close it there, Lucian. I'm gonna let you off the hook. I think this was great. Come back, talk anytime, hang out, hear Alt's terrible dad jokes.
I'll have more ready.
Okay, cool. Any last words, either of you, before we shut it down?
No, it's been a pleasure.
It's been a great pleasure, and as always, if there is any questions or any concerns, just reach out to the team or send me a DM, and or send a DM to Craig, and we always try our best to get back an answer and listen and also hear the concerns, obviously. And we're all humans after all. We try our best to make this work, and really are in this for the conviction. And soon, we'll start seeing the results.
Awesome. All right, with that, I'm going to close it off. Everybody, enjoy your Friday. Have touch some grass, swim in the lake, Lucian, maybe. It sounds nice over there.
I will.
And, we'll get back at it soon. I appreciate everyone. This has been another New Standards, and we'll be back again soon. If you're looking for something on the schedule, next Friday, we'll be doing vibe learning with myself and Mustafa driving. But if you want to come hang out on a panel, it's open to anyone. So just send me a DM. Alts, you'll be there. I'm forcing you to.
All right.
All right, friends. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye now.
Bye, guys.
And I'm always slow on this. And thank you. Bye, everyone.